Okay, so I wanted to talk about how to become a philosopher or to be an entrepreneur, they are two separate things, and it's really hard to mix them. Because I was thinking about how our society can create like new entrepreneurs all the time, but our society has a hard time creating new philosophers. So like I mean real philosophers. And I mean no disrespect to like people who went to college to then get a degree in philosophy. I don't think someone who has a degree in business or someone who has a degree in philosophy are actually really what they have the degree in. Like either you're an entrepreneur or you're not. Like it doesn't matter about your piece of paper claiming that you are. Either you're a philosopher or you're not. It doesn't matter about the piece of paper that you got that says you're a philosopher. Like, philosophy is a way of life. Entrepreneurship is a way of life. These are, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's really hard to mix the two. Because, like, I'm a philosopher, but yet I aspire to be an entrepreneur, or at least a successful entrepreneur. Somewhat successful, right? Because this is the funny thing about this shit. When you're a philosopher, you think differently. So therefore, you look at things differently. So people that want to be entrepreneurs, like they do their thing or whatever, but successful entrepreneurs aren't necessarily focused on the money. They're focused on their business, the product, the customers, the like what they are, like the value that they're giving to the people. Like they think in a different way, which is why I think these two are very similar but very opposite. So like philosophers think a different way as well. But like people who are not entrepreneurs that then look at the entrepreneur will think in their way, but they're not thinking in the same way the entrepreneur thinks. So the people that are not entrepreneurs look at people who own businesses like, oh, look at this rich guy. But it's like, yeah, maybe his goal was to be rich, but like in order to actually make that happen, you have to be the entrepreneur. You have to be that thing. And then therefore like you have to think a certain way. You have to be a certain way. You have to live a certain way. But to be a real philosopher, you also need to live a certain way and be a certain way and think a certain way. Because why hasn't our society created another Socrates? And I think about, well, it kind of has, right? So I think of Terence McKenna, Alan Watts, um, people like that. But those people didn't die rich as fuck. It's not like they died some rich people. They were rich with knowledge, with wisdom, and they were actually really philosophers. So, like, yeah, they made money here and there, but, like, they were probably just making money enough so they can do their thing. So, like, it wasn't the same intention that entrepreneurs have. And I was thinking about this because I seen this thing. I forget who I'd seen it from, but like I seen this thing where like because we live in this entrepreneurist type of world right now, where like everyone wants to own a business, everyone wants to do this thing, but so it's created this like hustle culture where like everyone like wants to always be working 12 hours, 15 hours, 18 hours a day, doing all this, doing all that. And that's fine if that's really you. Like one of the issues with all of this is you'll see an entrepreneur and you'll want what they have, but you don't want the lifestyle that they had to live to get what they have. Like you'll see a philosopher and you're like, "Oh, I wish I could think like that. I wish I could speak like that." But you don't understand the years of sacrifice that that person had to do. Like, so much sacrifice had to be made just to become an entrepreneur, just to be able to, or just to become a philosopher, an entrepreneur. Any of these things, like, sacrifices are made. So, like, the reason why they're kind of opposites, right, is to be an entrepreneur, you kind of have to be doing shit. Like, I seen this meme where it's like there's two pictures and there's like that statue of the thinker, right, where the dude's sitting there thinking, and then there's a statue of the doer where you just see the footprints of the guy because he got up to go do things. This is a problem with the ideas of philosophy and entrepreneurship. It requires two opposite things. Entrepreneurs think that people should do more and think less. Philosophers think people should do less and think more. Because that's how you become a philosopher. How else, like, the reason why philosophers, a lot of times, they're not rich people is because they needed to take that, like, the time that entrepreneurs spend to make money and to figure business and to do all this shit, it makes it so they don't have time to build their mind into a philosopher's mind. The more time you have to think, the more likely you are to become a philosopher, like a real philosopher. That's why just because someone has a degree in philosophy, that doesn't mean that they're a philosopher, because how often do they actually think? Like, is it part of their lifestyle, or did they just get the degree? Because if you just got the degree, then you'd probably be more suitable for the entrepreneurship lifestyle of, like, you were able to go to college and get your degree and do all this and do all that, so you could probably do a lot. So you're probably more suitable for being an entrepreneur, or being a doer in a sense. But this is why these ideas clash, because I, like, have a battle going on within myself where I'm like, I want to do entrepreneurship because I actually enjoy it. Like, I like that thing. But I had to make a sacrifice first before I ever started focusing on money. I wanted to become a legitimate philosopher, not for other people. It has nothing to do with me telling you guys, oh, I'm a philosopher. I don't give a fuck. I wanted to do this shit for myself. So I wanted to be a certain person. I don't know how to explain it. I wanted to be me. So if I spent, like, the past 10 years on entrepreneurship, then yeah, I'd be an entrepreneur, but I wouldn't be a philosopher, and the likelihood of me becoming a philosopher would be very small because I would have to keep up with the business and I wouldn't have time to grow my mind. So I made the sacrifice to grow my mind first, to, like, go down the shamanic journey, do all these different things first, because those are the things that I realized I can't do later. But the things that I did realize I can do later is after my mind is already created, and I already, like, if I healed my mental health, I built my mind into a philosopher's mind, I built my mind into this thing, gained a lot of knowledge, went through a lot of shit, so I've gained a lot of wisdom. Like, I can do the entrepreneurship later. Like, it's this thing that I say all the time, that the money will always be there, right? But I knew that there was only one chance to get this thing, to gain this mind that I have, to be able to speak the way I do. Because, like, it took me years and years and years of practice just to be able to think a thought and speak it out. Like, I free flow everything I say on videos. So it's like, I don't know, all I knew when I made this video was I wanted to make a video about philosophy and entrepreneurship and how they're like opposites, which is why you don't see many philosophers becoming entrepreneurs and you don't see many entrepreneurs becoming philosophers. But entrepreneurship is this thing that kind of, like, there's an entrepreneur born, like, built every year. Like, every single year there's a new entrepreneur that is created. There's a new successful businessman that is created. But it's only like once every 100 years that a philosopher is created, because a philosopher has to make a sacrifice that is most people are not willing to make. But most likely, almost every philosopher made the conscious decision. Like, because even before you gain that philosopher's mind, you kind of have that mind. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but Socrates made the choice to be who he was. Like, Terence McKenna made the choice to be who he was. Alan Watts made the choice to be who he was. Like, they chose not to focus on money. And entrepreneurs don't understand because they think differently. So when I tell people I chose not to focus on money, they look at me like I'm fucking crazy. They're like, so what, you chose to be poor? That don't make no sense. I mean, obviously I didn't choose to be poor originally, but when I became conscious, I chose to focus on something else because I had a decision when I became conscious. The decision was heal my mental health, stop being that gangster thug dude or whatever, but I can still, like, focus on money, focus on business, focus on this thing, and, like, at least I wouldn't be a gangster focusing on that shit. Or I could build my mind. Like, and I chose to build my mind. I chose to build my character. I chose to fix my own personality. I chose to, like, gain knowledge and go through life and be in the moment. Like, because as I'm living life, I have a lot of goals, but yeah, I'm so in the moment that I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't even care if I accomplish my goals or not. That doesn't fucking matter, because once you become the philosopher, you're able to realize so much shit about life that doesn't fucking matter. Like, because in the end, we're all gonna die anyway. So, like, I don't know how to explain it, but that's why I was able to say, well, I'm gonna leave the entrepreneurship for last, because if I don't accomplish that, I'll be okay. Or at least I'll be okay with myself. But if I didn't accomplish I went down the modern shamanism path, I became a philosopher, I healed my mental health, I got myself in physical shape, like, all of this were things that I really actually wanted to do. Like, actually. Like, I mean, like, when I made the decision, I'm like, oh, I should go make money, get an entrepreneur to do that thing, or I should be a philosopher and start thinking or whatever. I was like battling, should I do more or should I think more? Should I do more or should I think more? And I made the sacrifice because I chose, like, I started thinking about, maybe it was because I was doing a lot of DMT, but like, I started thinking about how, like, when I die, what would I be more proud of? Like, of myself type shit. Like, would I be more proud that I chose entrepreneurship first and I might not be able to heal my mental health or fix my mind or become a philosopher? Or should I work on my mind first and then work on my life? Because so many people, like, these are so much, like, I've just made the conscious decision to become the man that I am today. Like, that's basically what I'm trying to say. And so did Socrates, and so did Terence McKenna, and so did the entrepreneurs. And there is no right or wrong answer. It is all about self-awareness. You need to know who you are. Like, you need to know what would make you proud of yourself. You need to know, like, that's all you need to know, because it's not about other people. Other people judge me because I didn't focus on money, but they don't realize, like, they're only judging me because that's what they did. But I don't judge them. Like, I don't expect anyone else to sacrifice to become a philosopher. Like, so, like, but I also understand. I wish more people would think. But I understand they don't really have time to think. So, like, I mean, this is why Socrates was basically a homeless poor man. Like, and like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, I get it because I've been fucking homeless before, right? And I get it because it's one of the reasons why I've had time to build my mind in the first place. Like, I've had time, but I made myself have time. And I mean, other people are like, oh, you had time to do this. It's not like I have to go to work because I had to do this. So like, I had no choice. No, you had a choice. You could have chose the conscious decision. They say, fuck this. I'd rather be homeless. Like, I know it sounds fucking crazy, but like, I don't know how to explain it, but at one point I was like, bro, I'd rather be homeless than not have the time to build my mind. Like, I need the time to figure out who the fuck I am. So I made that time, no matter what. But that was because I knew I could go back to working on trying to get money, trying to do business, doing all these things. I can get to that later. Like, but there was no getting to my mental health later. There was no going down the shamanic journey later. There was no trying to like be a legitimate philosopher later. Like, there was no second chance with that. So I had to choose that. There is a second chance with entrepreneurship. You could start a business and fail, then you could try to start another business and fail at that one, and you could start another business and succeed with that one. And you could do that at any age, any time, from 18 to 65 years old. You can work on entrepreneurship. I understood that I could not do that with the other thing I wanted to do, because I won't have time to think after I build the entrepreneurship thing. I will have to put my energy into the entrepreneurship thing. So I decided to put all my energy into the philosopher thing first, because there is no second chance with that. Because if I'm already doing entrepreneurship, you are not going to have time to actually become a legitimate philosopher. You're not going to have time to think. Like, You'll have time to gain a little knowledge. That's why entrepreneurs all talk about, you should read books, you should read. But like, I've never read a book, like, I've really never read a book in my life. I listen to audiobooks. But like, I don't know how to explain it. I've barely listened to any audiobooks because that's not how I've learned. I learn a lot from listening to people and watching things, but I learn more from thinking. Like, thinking. I had time to think about my thoughts, think, why do I think these thoughts? I had time to think, I'm this gangster thug dude, why am I this gangster thug dude? I had time to think, like, think about the plants, think about my life, think about my mind, think about, why do I have depression, why do I have anxiety? I used to self-harm, so I'm like, well, why did I used to self-harm? Like, I gave myself time to think about all this, because, like, I don't know how to explain it. I was either going to be stuck with it, or I was going to make the time to think about it to figure shit out. And like, I figured shit out with that. So then I know that once I actually start putting all my energy into the entrepreneur thing, to the business thing, to that thing, I know I'll be fine with that too. Like, bro, if you can heal your mental health, you can fucking do anything. Like, swear to God. So like, I'm sitting there like, well, I can do anything now. Like, because I healed my mind. Like, I can do anything. Anything. Anything that I want, I can go out and get. Because now I have the time, because I already built my mind. So that was just my choice. But this is why entrepreneurship and philosophers kind of bash heads. When entrepreneurs will say, you need to do more, but don't mistake movement for doing shit. I don't know. Don't mistake that shit for actual success or whatever. Because, like, I don't know how to explain it. The philosopher thinks success is having time to think. Like, that's success to the philosopher. That he has time to be able to be a philosopher. Like, he has time to be himself. But the same thing happens with the entrepreneur. The entrepreneur has time to be himself. Like, if you are actually an entrepreneur and you don't want to be a philosopher, you don't want to go down the shamanic journey, you don't want any of these things, then doing the philosophy thing is going to make you feel like you are successful. Or like when you do the entrepreneur thing, you're going to feel successful because that was your thing. When you do the philosopher thing, if that was your goal, you're going to feel successful if you're able to do the philosopher thing, right? Like, it's just about who you are and knowing who you are. Like, who are you? What do you want to do with your life? How, like, what would make you proud of yourself? Like, that's just the shit I was thinking, and that's why I chose philosophy first over entrepreneurship, because I knew for the next 10 years of my life, because now I'm 29, I'll be 30 in a few months, but like, up until I'm 40, I could focus all my time on the entrepreneur thing. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just the way I think, because I've always kind of thought like a philosopher in a sense, but that's why I started making these choices for myself, because it's my life, and I'm the only one that has to be okay with it. Like, other people are like, you should make money, you should do this, you should do more entrepreneur stuff, you should do more this. And I'd be thinking, bro, you should think more, you should heal your mental health, you should get yourself in shape, you should whatever, but I'm not going to throw that in people's faces like they're throwing it in mine, right? Like, yeah, everyone else should heal their mental health too. Everyone else should get in shape too. Everyone else should build a deep connection bond with their kids too. Like, everyone should do that shit too. But just because that's what I do, I don't expect other people to do the shit that I do, because, like, we are all different people. So, like, I just knew who I was. So, like, I know myself, so I know what I needed to do first. And I knew what I could save for last.